All right, listen carefully. Your draft is this weekend, and if you don't listen good, you are going to regret it this entire season. I'm going to share with you 3 tips, that's it, that are going to help you win your draft and win the championship. And the 4th tip, as a bonus at the end, I'm going to give you a structure, meaning how to draft your roster, particularly this year for Fantasy Football 2025. It's going to give you a massive advantage. So, last minute draft advice right here on the #1 Fantasy Football podcast. If you are new to the channel, smash it. That we're talking about the thumbs up. Smash the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. We just crossed over 100,000 subscribers. Thank you everybody for being here. And drop a comment below if you have any specific draft questions. I'll try to get to as many as I humanly possibly can. Drop your draft questions below. I want to help as many people win their league as possible. And if you have not got it, now is the time. Do not hesitate. All you could do right now is grab the 16-round draft session if you want to win. Sleepers, breakouts, optimal players drafted each round. As soon as you sign up, you're going to get an email. Go watch the August mock draft I did and go out and print the cheat sheet right there. It's laid out for you. All the sleepers, all the breakouts, all on a silver platter with all the rookie notes. Everything is there. Strength of schedule. Grab 16 rounds. Do not hesitate. This is going to help you guys win your league. If you have a draft today and you're watching this, you're probably like last minute, but that's okay. 16 rounds is going to help you. Grab it below or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Do not hesitate. This is the game changer. And for in-season, join the Fantasy Frontlines. I've linked that below. The Fantasy Frontlines, guys, is in-season sleepers. Starts and sits. I'm thinking draft. We're in draft mode. Starts and sits, waiver wire, direct access, Q&A, direct. That's the only place you get direct access to me is in the Patreon group at patreon.com/FFcounselor. I've also linked that below for in-season because draft is half the battle. All right, hit the thumbs up. Let's get to these 4 tips, mainly 3, but then the last one's more of a structure/strategy. Okay, tip number 1. All right, this is a very, very important tip. Do not, and I repeat, I'm going to add to this, okay? Do not chase the ADP consensus rankings. What do I mean by that? So I'll give you an example. Pearsall, who I like this year, I think he's going to be in line for a lot of work, and Emeka. Pearsall is ranked wide receiver 38th, Emeka, wide receiver 34. So what does that mean, Joe? A guy that I'm not drafting, DJ Moore, is ranked 20th, and a guy like Jameson Williams is ranked 30th. So if you look at it, I would have Pearsall and Emeka 100 times over this year over a Jameson Williams and a DJ Moore. Why? Well, let's take a look at Jameson Williams. Crowded wide receiver core. We have rookie Tesla coming in, stepping up in preseason. And not only that, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown there, who is the one, right? Okay, what's the problem, Joe? You got Sam Laporta, a really good pass-catching tight end. Okay, what's the problem, Joe? You got Jahmyr Gibbs, who's going to get an uptick in receptions. Okay, what's the problem, Joe? New offensive coordinator. How's that going to shape up? So that could hurt or help Williams. Regardless, is that Williams is a good player, just doesn't get the volume. He's going to have some big games in best ball, but not a guy that's going to get the volume. Compare him to Emeka, who's going in with Godwin on IR. You got a quarterback that throws the ball 570 times a year. You got McMillan, who's banged up with the neck. Very tragic, that thing that happened with his neck. Hopefully he's going to be back and okay. In preseason, McMillan, right? All you have is aged Mike Evans. Emeka's been tearing up camp. And I can go on about Pearsall and the injuries there in San Fran. DJ Moore, crowded wide receiver core. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that ADP, it's not all about that. I don't mind reaching ahead and getting Emeka instead of getting a guy that I know is just going to be in a diluted situation. So going back to what this tip is don't chase ADP. Don't chase the name. Don't chase someone simply because they're higher on that ADP. It's going to be a grave mistake. Do not do it. I'm telling you, this tip alone is going to help you. You want to be aiming high in the depth chart. We'll talk about in a second. Aiming high in the depth chart and getting those guys that are primed to get volume. That's what 16 rounds lays out for you. I omit guys that aren't going to do well and give you guys that are going to crush it. Okay, tip number 1, don't chase ADPs. Again, this is last minute advice here. 16 rounds is going to help you. Okay, tip number 2. Okay, this is very, very important. All right. Make sure, and I'm going to give you guys some sleepers here. I'm going to give you some sleepers on who to draft. Tip number 2 is actually a bonus. I'm going to give you some sleepers. Now, we talked about not chasing ADP, so who do we draft? Tip number 2, I'm going to give you the sleepers. It's not even more of a tip. It's more like inside information here. All right, couple must-draft players here that I like to have on all my rosters that you have to target on your rosters, okay? So tip number 2, who to draft, and that is Tyler Warren at the tight end position. I believe he's going to be a solid staple that has more upside than some of these second or third year tight ends. Do you understand what I'm saying? Tyler Warren is primed to get a ton of volume. I could go into reasons. It'd be a 10-minute, it'd be a 10-hour video. Tyler Warren, Emeka Egbuka, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson later, and anchor your team with an ace running back early on. A guy that I like, for example, a lot this year is Omari Hampton. I just gave you three sleepers and a guy earlier on that you got to draft. Now, why do I like Keon Coleman, for example? I'm giving you a name. I'm going to back up what I say. Keon Coleman had a down year last year, was a little banged up, and just didn't have the rapport that he has with Josh Allen. They didn't draft anybody else, meaning the opportunity for a Keenan Allen to thrive this year is massive. Sorry, not Keenan. I don't like Keenan. Keon Coleman to thrive in Buffalo is massive, right? Because they didn't draft anybody else in Buffalo. Shakira has been banged up. He's back, but he's not a true wide receiver one. They got Kincaid, who was a bust last year. Everyone told you to draft him third round except for me. Waste of a pick. But you got a guy like Keon Coleman, who was a early second round pick last year, was not utilized to his full potential. Has beefed up, speed looks better, connections better, draft him. I love Emeka, great situation. We talked about him. Tyler Warren, right? Omari Hampton earlier on. Now he's back, but listen, the Chargers did well last year. Didn't do well, but Dobbins did well on the Chargers last year, and he sucks. So can you imagine the ceiling of Omari Hampton? Yes, Najee's going to be a pest, but implement Omari Hampton as part of a robust RB strategy. So tip number 2 is not only who to draft, but aim high in the depth chart and get guys that are in situations that are going to eat, that are not in diluted situations. Example, Keon Coleman, example, Emeka, example, Tyler Warren, which again, there's no true wide receiver one there. He's going to eat, high draft capital guy. Okay, so that's tip number 2, who to draft. And you should be drafting guys higher on the depth chart, minimal committees, okay? Tip number 3, who to avoid. Avoid players, okay? I'll give you a quick example of some players to avoid, and you'll understand why. Josh Downs could be good this year, but years to hours were not wowed. Rashee Rice facing a suspension. James Conner on borrowed time. You know, the guy's old, dude. Like, he hasn't been that sensational. That's why I like Trey Benson as a sleeper. So who do you avoid? Avoid players, guys, that have had years to wow us were not wowed, injury risk, diluted situations. So if you look at a situation, example, Jameson Williams, too many mouths to feed, right? I'm going to go for a guy like Emeka, young, dynamic talent, tons of upside, tearing up training camp. And that's who I'm going to go for, the upside player who's almost guaranteed volume. I'm not going to go for the guy that has years to wow us so we're not wowed, or is injury prone, or is in a diluted situation. Does this make sense? So that's who you're avoiding. You're avoiding players that are in bad situations. Another example, DJ Moore. Diluted situation. They brought in Luther Burden, right? They got Loveland, early round draft capital at tight end. They got Swift. They got Rome Odunze, who's bulked up, is going to step up this year. So DJ Moore just doesn't have the ceiling, right? And you also don't want to waste early round draft picks. Example, T. Higgins round 3, waste of a pick on a guy who's a wide receiver. So remember, we're aiming high on the depth chart, getting the guy that's going to be a potential 1. So if you compare T. Higgins, who's coming off round 2, compared to a Keon Coleman, who's going to be the 1, and I can get him round 9, which one makes more sense? Obviously, Keon Coleman. Well, you're going to say, well, Joe, with T. Higgins, I'm guaranteed. First of all, there's no guarantees, but I'm guaranteed 110 targets, 10 touchdowns. By the way, he had his pinnacle year last year, and he's on a contract hangover as well. So I factor everything in. So I'm getting a guy who's going to get me 110 targets, Joe. I'm going to get him in the 3rd round. I'm secure at wide receiver with T. Higgins. Keon Coleman, he didn't even wow us last year. Listen, in the 3rd round, you should be drafting an ace running back or a Josh Allen or somebody a little more secure anyway, who's on top of the depth chart. And then you get Keon Coleman later. So Keon is just a high upside swing that I'm getting for value. I'm not necessarily comparing Keon to Higgins, but in this case I am, just to show you the value, the difference, okay? Make sense? Is this making sense? Is this registering? Because I want it to register. This is very, very important. So you want to avoid players that are not in situations that are going to really benefit you, okay? So we've talked about this. Don't chase ADP. Don't be afraid to reach on players that are in better situations based on the criteria. Cuddy system, consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. Are they going to be consistent? Rookies, we don't know. But are they going to be upside? Absolutely. Right? Depth chart, where are they? Are they durable? Are they young? right? You don't want those old players that are lower on the depth chart, third or fourth on the depth chart that, years to wow us, we're not wowed, right? Inconsistent. You want guys that are young, hungry. And some of these rookies follow 4 out of the 5 steps of the Cuddy system. Consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. Emeka, right? Upside. Durable, high on the depth chart, young. 4 out of the Cuddy. Is he consistent? We don't know. We hope so. Based on these 4, it might bring out the 5. When you look at a guy, like I said, again, we're talking draft strategy here. Another guy, Josh Downs, kind of banged up lately, right? Durable, depth chart, we don't know. Inconsistent, young. And I mean, it's not his first year in the NFL. Makes sense? Guys, think logically. The only channel giving you logical and common sense, okay? I'm going to keep this video under 20 minutes so you guys can run to your draft, okay? Let's get that going. Again, hit the thumbs up if this is making sense to you, all right? This is rapid fire cram session, all right? So the last tip, I want to balance your roster. I'm going to give you an overview for 2025 on how you should approach your draft. Now, this is going to be different for Superflex. With Superflex, it's a different strategy. I did some coaching on that. If you guys need a coaching call, book it below. I walked somebody through a specific Superflex draft strategy 2 days ago. It was really custom to his league because his league mates really go heavy heavy quarterback early, and they almost take 2 quarterbacks early. So what do? You got to kind of pivot and just consider a quarterback, but which quarterback? So I had to walk them through that while still anchoring those running backs. So assuming it's a 1 quarterback league, let's pass on the Superflex. It's more 1 quarterback leagues. Just a general overview, and you can implement this in your Superflex league as well. This year particularly, you want to load up on running backs early. How many? It depends. Now, you could go running back, Josh Allen, running back, depending on who's available. Example, if I get by Jan round 1, I get Josh Allen round 2, example. I come back, Omari and Hampton falls 3, and then I get Henderson round 4. I'm solid. I got 3 workhorse running backs and an ace quarterback done. Early draft done. Why do I fade wide receiver early? Because I just told you, I gave you examples of sleepers, Pearsall and Emeka. Great situations, potential to be the wide receiver 1. Keon Coleman, another one, and I can get them later. Tight end, I'm not investing in Brock Bowers. Why? Brock Bowers is a great player in an entirely different situation. Last year, 153 targets because he was the only wide receiver there. Jacoby Myers sucks. How do I know Jacoby Myers sucks? I've been saying this since before he requested a trade a week ago. I've been saying this since like last year. Jacoby Myers is not that good. He's not a true wide receiver, ace wide receiver 1. And Bowers was simply shining because he was the better player there, and he benefited from the target share because they had no other wide receiver, they had no running game, and they had desperate quarterbacks that sucked. They were leaning on him as a crutch. This year, Geno Smith, great situation, great talent. They got Dante Thornton, they got Jack Besh, they got Trey Tucker, who's kind of improved this year. They got Genty for more checkdowns, different situation. So going back to the balanced roster, I don't waste money, well, in an auction, whatever, could be wasting it, but I don't waste early draft capital on, listen carefully, wide receivers early and tight ends. I know when to get them, right? And you've got to get a backup for a tight end later, okay? So running back early, anchor an ace quarterback in there, wide receivers in the middle with a tight end, and then you're swinging for the fences on the sleepers that I recommend the 16-round draft session. Also, you want to grab a top 10 defense. I do love the Pittsburgh Steelers this year as a top 10 defense. Love them. And why do I get a top 10 defense? Because I just don't really want to worry so much about, looking for the best matchup every week. I got a defense I could plug and play every single week and not have to worry they're going to get me my points. Okay. Very simple strategy. All right. And you can still stream defenses, but I just like to have a solid defense every single week that's going to give me consistent points across the board. So that's my strategy to you. Balance the roster and have a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan when you are drafting. This is very, very important. All right. So tip number 1, again, don't chase the ADPs. Tip number 2, draft the right player based on the Cuddy system. Tip number 3, avoid players that have had years to wow you. You're not wowed in terrible situations, have suspensions looming like Rashee Rice, injury prone. Avoid those players. Okay. Just stay away from them. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, guys. All right. And tip number 4, balanced roster, go top heavy running back, anchor and ace quarterback, wait on tight end and wide receiver because there's more depth at those positions, and you're anchoring the most scarce position early on, which is running back. Have yourself a top 10 defense, and away you go. Guys, under 16 minutes, 17 minutes, under 17 minutes, you've got something to work with this year. last minute advice. This is crucial to your success. Again, join the Patreon group, smash a thumbs up, and Patreon for in season, smash thumbs up. And also NFL picks. All my NFL picks are going to be below. You can get them, get the season pass. There's a special price right now, early bird special. Get it below. You get all my picks against the spread. We can win there. And make sure you guys grab the 16-round drafts if you guys want to win your league. All right? Subscribe, thumbs up. Fantasy football draft weekend major. Do not draft for those 16 rounds and hit the thumbs up on your way out. I'll keep the content rolling for you daily. Subscribe and have yourself an outstanding weekend and draft. Go get them. Lion mentality.